Reborn into this world by Saber Chapter 5, Shadows of Divine Intervention. The hum of machinery filled the laboratory bunker as Shugel worked diligently on a new operation orb, a project that had become increasingly crucial as the ultimatum of the Imperial High Command loomed closer. This new operation orb was special type that is designed to contain Rimuru's immense magical power, a feat that is both fascinating and frightening the scientists involved. Every successful experiment felt like a small victory for them as it becomes a small step closer to achieve a new scientific innovation, while each failure amplified the looming dread of the impending deadline. Rimuru, now accustomed to his surroundings, spent most of his days in his containment chamber and mostly observed the scientists and staff working around the clock in the laboratory, tirelessly creating prototypes suited for him. Although Shugel remained focused, Rimuru couldn't help but sense a faint thread of unease weaving through the minds of those around him. They spoke in hushed tones, their anxious gazes shifted to him when they thought he wasn't watching. But the quiet tension in the laboratory was nothing compared to the threat looming over them, one rooted in the very fabric of existence itself, beyond mortal comprehension. The Divine Realm. In a realm beyond the perception of mortals, a figure cloaked in divine authority watched intently. This was Being X, the god who presided over the war-torn world of Tanya Dagarechev. For millennia, Being X had ruled its dominion with an iron grip, carefully orchestrating the destinies of souls, ensuring the cosmic balance remained intact. However, someone was now threatening to disrupt this delicate balance. The existence of Rimuru, a soul of foreign origin from a higher deity's multiverse, was a unique anomaly that poses a grave risk. The power radiating from Rimuru's soul was unlike anything Being X had encountered in its domain, as most foreign souls he encountered came from lower domains. Souls from higher domains, particularly those governed by the whims of higher gods, could destabilize the structure of the lower realms, their inherent power too great for these weaker and fragile dimensions. For years, Being X had allowed Rimuru's soul to drift within its universe, under the mistaken assumption that the foreign entity would naturally dissolve and return to the universal order of its own multiverse, as most souls, especially from the domain of a higher gods. There have never been recorded cases where a soul from a higher domain forces itself to integrate into any lower domain in his knowledge. Even the souls from his domain never integrate itself into lower domains, reassuring him even more. The god, however, had grossly underestimated Rimuru's resilience and the ability of his soul to resist fragmentation and control. And one day, Being X sensed something more dangerous. Rimuru was integrating, fusing his otherworldly essence with the rebirth cycle under this god's rule. As it fully integrated itself into Being X's rebirth cycle, and now his presence threatens him, as every moment that passed brought the foreign soul closer to recovering its fragmented powers. "Damn it," Being X muttered, its frustration breaking through the divine calm it usually maintained. This was not how it was supposed to go. The god clenched its ethereal fists. The higher deities, the ones who governed the larger multiverse, had strict laws forbidding excessive interference in mortal realms. However, a 10-millennium-old agreement among the gods, from the highest to the lowest, established protocols for dealing with foreign threats. This is especially meant for soul of a higher plane that tries to integrate itself to any lower domains, could only be attacked during its weakest state, during reincarnation. In a desperate bid to stop Rimuru from fully awakening, Being X activated its celestial enforcers, the angels, beings of divine purpose tasked with carrying out its will across dimensions. For centuries, they had searched tirelessly for the source of the disruption. But every time they thought they were close on capturing this threat, Rimuru's soul would elude them, slipping away like smoke on the wind. The divine frustration grew. Rimuru's very existence posed a threat to everything Being X had worked to create. The meeting of angels. In the divine halls of Being X, a gathering took place. The angels, shimmering beings of pure light, hovered silently, awaiting their master's command. Their forms flickered like flames, casting an eerie glow on the dark, endless expanse of the divine realm. "Have you found it?" Being X inquired, its voice a low rumble that echoed with divine authority. Though it spoke calmly, the tension was palpable. One angel, larger and more magnificent than the others, stepped forward. Its wings radiated with a shimmering, dazzling light. "We have searched tirelessly across the realms, my lord. We sensed traces of its essence, but the creature remains elusive. Each time we close in, the foreign soul evades our grasp." Then you are not searching hard enough, Being X roared, frustration lacing its tone. It had spent millennium after millennium maintaining the fragile balance of its universe, yet now, a mere soul, foreign and anomalous, was threatening to undo all of its work. If that monster gets to recover its strength, we will have to seek a favor from a higher deity. And I cannot afford to owe them. The mere thought of losing dozens, perhaps hundreds, of carefully crafted worlds in exchange for a favor just to deal with one rogue soul churned the god's essence. Not only that the ranking and power of the gods were based on how many worlds they control, as the faith of the people to their god increases divinity for them, making them stronger. The loss of thousands means his power will weaken and lose his standing. The angel flinched but bowed deeply. Your will shall be done, my lord. We will intensify our search. Go. Continue the search, Being X commanded, regaining its composure. Find the creature, and when you do, we must find a candidate. A mortal who can intervene without drawing attention. We must stop this before the mortal realm becomes aware of our involvement. The angels dispersed, their forms dissolving into the ether, leaving Being X alone in the darkness of its divine realm. It pondered its next move, feeling the weight of inevitability pressing down on it. Back in the bunker, Rimuru continued his cooperation with Shugel, unaware of the divine game unfolding above him. His days were filled with intense training and experimentation. Though Shugel remained a stoic figure, there was a growing sense of urgency in every interaction between them. Rimuru, Shugel said one day, breaking the silence that enveloped the bunker. How do you feel about your training? Do you think you're ready? Rimuru, seated at a cluttered workstation surrounded by glowing prototypes and magical artifacts, glanced up. His golden eyes reflected a hint of uncertainty, but he nodded. It's challenging. But I'm learning a lot. I want to be ready for whatever comes next. Shugel smiled faintly, but his eyes betrayed a deeper concern. That's the spirit. Just remember, true strength comes not only from power but from understanding those around you. Rimuru appreciated the sentiment, but there was a growing unease in his heart. He couldn't quite place it, but he felt as though something, or someone, was watching him. It was a feeling that had started as a faint whisper in the back of his mind, but now it lingered like a shadow, always just out of reach. A distraction that led to a discovery in the divine realm. Being X's patience was wearing thin. It had hoped that the angels would have captured Rimuru by now, but the foreign soul remained elusive. Worse still, every second he let Rimuru continue to exist, he was growing stronger, recovering his magical abilities at a pace that is alarming for him. As the search for Rimuru continued, Being X turned its attention briefly to a matter of personal interest. Tanya Dgorechev. The god had invested considerable effort in manipulating the soul of the former salaryman had finally reborn as child, testing the mortal's faith and will to survive. Tanya's disbelief in Being X's divine nature had always irked the god, but it had also fascinated him. Few mortals had such audacity to stain his holy presence. As this man's soul finally cycled through reincarnation, Being X leaned in, watching closely as her new form took shape in a fresh world torn by war. The god had placed Tanya in a precarious situation, ensuring that her survival depended on submission to divine intervention. Being X relished the moment, eager to see whether Tanya would finally yield or continue her defiant streak. Being X's divine gaze was sharp, sifting through the intricate layers of time and space as it watched Tanya's new life unfold. It was an exercise in control, a reminder that even the most stubborn souls could not escape divine will. Yet, as Being X focused on Tanya's awakening, a curious sensation tickled the edges of its perception. A presence. Foreign, yet disturbingly familiar. Impossible, Being X murmured, momentarily distracted from its observation of Tanya. Suddenly, the divine realm trembled, and Being X felt it, a surge of magical energy so powerful, so foreign, that it rattled the very core of the god's domain. It wasn't Tanya. This was something far greater. Being X widened its gaze, scanning the realms, and there it was, the signature of Rimuru Tempest. The soul it had sought for so long, now fully revealed. The foreign entity had eluded the angels by blending in, integrating more fully into the rebirth cycle than Being X had ever anticipated. In a flash of divine realization, Being X understood how it had missed Rimuru all this time. Rimuru had been hiding in plain sight, subtly weaving his existence into the very currents of fate, much like Tanya had done. The god, so focused on tracking Rimuru through his foreign soul's magic, had overlooked a crucial detail. Rimuru wasn't using his original power. Instead, he had been tapping into the magic of the world he was reborn into, seamlessly blending in and masking the immense force that lay dormant within him. It seems I've been looking to the wrong place. Damn it, how could I have missed it? Being X whispered in disbelief, its anger swelling. He was hiding within this world. How arrogant. For the first time in millennia, Being X felt something akin to fear. Rimuru was not just a foreign soul from another multiverse. He was something far more dangerous. His presence here wasn't an accident, and if Being X didn't act soon, the balance of power in this realm could be irrevocably altered. Its mind raced with strategies, each one more desperate than the last. The limitations imposed by divine law were infuriating. It couldn't intervene directly, not without drawing the attention of the higher deities. But if it didn't act soon, Rimuru's power would become uncontrollable. This is worse than I imagined, Being X muttered darkly, as it withdrew its focus from Tanya's reincarnation and fully turned its attention to Rimuru. Time is running out. If he reaches his full potential, not even my powers can hold him. I must act before it's too late. But Rimuru was a different kind of threat. He wasn't simply a mortal soul. He was something far greater, a foreign entity from a multiverse far beyond Being X's control. Rimuru's growing unease back in the bunker. Rimuru couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. He paced the small space, his golden eyes flicking from one corner of the room to another, as though expecting to see something lurking in the shadows. What if they don't accept me? Rimuru muttered to himself. What if they see me as just another experiment, or worse? Shugal noticed Rimuru's growing anxiety and approached him. Hey, you all right? You seem a bit on edge. Rimuru looked up, his eyes filled with doubt. I can't shake the feeling that there's something else going on. It's like there's something watching me. Something bigger than all of this. Shugal frowned. Watching you? You're not losing it, are you? No, it's real, Rimuru insisted. I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's this weight pressing down on me. And it's not just about the presentation that's coming this week. Shugal sighed, placing a reassuring hand on Rimuru's shoulder. Look, I get it. There's a lot of pressure right now, but you've been preparing for this. You're more than just a subject here. You're a person. You've got potential. Focus on that. Rimuru nodded, though the feeling of unease remained. Deep down, he knew that whatever was watching him wasn't just a figment of his imagination. The hidden battle in the divine realm, Being X watched with growing frustration as its angels continued to search for Rimuru. But even as they scoured the mortal world, the god knew that time was running out. It's only a matter of time before Rimuru unlocks his full potential, Being X muttered to itself. And when that happens, the god's form flickered with barely contained rage. It had never faced a threat like this before, something so far beyond its control. For the first time in millennia, Being X felt a pang of fear. But even as it plotted its next move, it knew that the true battle had only just begun.